mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.
What's up? Welcome to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion podcast. I, of course, am your host, one of your hosts, a hosted version.
Are you
Hostess cakes?
Is there a
donuts.
non-binary version of hostess?
The Entenmann's ones are called Pop'ems.
There we go. I'm one of your hosts, Drew Hall. And with me today, of course, as always, king of the South Alabama Turndown and still #1 subscriber to Columbia House, president of Dale Boyd Sports Management, Dale Boyd.
Oh, it's actually BMG because Columbia House is trash.
No, Columbia House was way better. BMG had like the shit music.
I don't
What's
know.
Columbia House?
Oh, Generation Gap.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, man.
And just introducing himself from absolutely nowhere. Is it Vidalia?
You like the onion? No, it's Ridilla. Yeah.
And you go by Andy or Andrew? These are things we should have talked about before we started the
Depends who's
podcast.
asking.
Right, so-
I introduced myself as Andy, but
But what about in the formal Fox sense?
Andy. So this backstory is kind of crazy. I never wanted to go. I'm gonna already tangent this, but I never
all we do.
elected to go as Andy. I had a basketball coach in 6th grade. His name's Steve Marcy. He's probably not listening. He just started calling
Shout
me.
out to Steve if you are.
Shout out to Steve
You're a
Marcy.
douche.
Coach
Apparently,
Marcy.
maybe you're a douche. Maybe you're great. I don't know.
I don't know. It's been I don't know. It's been a long time.
Okay.
But he just started calling me Andy, and then like it was the spider web of like the guys that I was playing basketball with called me that, and then my close friends did. But what's funny is like in my immediate family's eyes, like if my parents are calling me to like chew me out, or like when I was getting in trouble, if I was ever getting in trouble, it would always be Andy.
Oh, shit.
Otherwise, it's Andrew.
Oh, wait. So yours is the opposite. Like mine is always. I'm not an Andrew. I'm just a Drew. But like mine would be. So would your parents bypass the middle name scenario? Because mine would be
Yeah,
like
they
Drew
never-
Benson, and I knew I was in deep shit.
No, we never got the like middle name thing,
Oh,
which
wow.
I feel like is the case for a lot of people. But yeah, we never really got like chewed by our middle name.
Jesus, man, I got destroyed by my middle name.
I just didn't get yelled at.
You're perfect.
I'm perfect.
No.
Little angel.
Perfect child.
He took enough abuse. There's nicknames. We've talked about them on the show
Oh,
before.
yeah, there's definitely nicknames.
Sometimes I find myself on set saying it when we're working together.
Yeah,
I'll be
it's
like,
good.
hey, where's... And I won't say it. I'll spare you.
Well,
If you want to find out what it is, you got to listen to previous episodes, which is a great way of us segueing into... You can find us on all social media platforms,
Absolutely.
which is at Ride the Rebellion, and we're on everywhere. So if this is your first time listening to this podcast, because for some reason you got drug into it, A, thanks for listening. If you're on a corporate level, don't turn it up real loud.
if you're listening to it in your office,
If you're in your office, it's not that it's not safe for work,
I was
but
gonna say you can't give it the NSFW tag. It's not
I'm
that
just
bad.
no, it's not NSFW. I don't know. It's raw. Like it's a real conversation. So some people, you just want to blare it when we start screaming out something random. I'm just saying ahead of time. But at the same time, if you're just joining us for the first time, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm going to do our quick roll call of sponsors, and we're going to see how many of those. It's a game we're now calling.
a new game.
Yeah.
Roulette with our sponsors.
Has Andy heard of them?
Okay, cool.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
all right.
good.
This is fun.
All right, Dale, why don't you kick off with our first sponsor? I'll just let you pick. You got a gambit to go with.
Do I have to guess what the like company that sponsors you does, or is it going to be really?
Yeah,
obvious?
they're
that could be an
pretty
interesting.
obvious.
No, just go
aspect.
for it. Just don't say the last word. So if you say like, if Kevin Black's company, if you're
Yes.
Kevin Black's, just don't say what the rest of it does, and just see if he can figure it
Oh,
out.
this is gonna
Okay,
make
I'm
it
doing
look
Kevin
terrible.
Black because that's an easier
Oh,
one than
that's
the other
garbage.
names.
You're garbage water.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
so first off, we got Kevin Black at Man of War, and he is an amazing guy. He's going to hook you up with some awesome stuff. And what does he do?
Boat dealership.
No. Close.
God, I think that's
Ish.
fantastic.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
what is it?
He's a tattoo artist.
Oh, way off.
And he's an awesome tattoo artist.
That was
He's a
pretty good.
Beautiful tattoo artist.
That's pretty good.
Are we gonna get tattoos? I don't have any tattoos.
Ooh,
if you should get one, you should-
I should get
He's a-
one.
he's a
from-
rider.
I should get one from.
Man of War Tattoo in Fairhope, Alabama. That's a segue.
I could have
Look at
we could have
that.
teed that up and done a cheesy one and just been like, "Hey Andy, you got any tattoos? Sure don't. Well, you should head on down to Man of War Tattoo and get yourself a tattoo in a boat. That's Man of War Tattoo." Go boat yourself.
No, I'm
Wow, that's a
really afraid of
soundbite.
needles. But what we got next?
Oh, I'm not a
Kevin
needle
doesn't.
fan either.
Kevin doesn't use needles.
Dude,
Okay.
I didn't even, when he did mine, and I didn't even know. I was like, "You're done." He's like, "Well, you got a baby size tattoo," but yeah,
He
I
does
didn't
do
feel
all
it.
sleeves. His sleeve work is sick.
Yeah.
Like
He's
I
a-
love them. I think they're cool. I just I don't have anything that I'd want to get.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, that's what
Now
it
I'm
really
off. Now I'm off and running with a new tattoo idea. That's amazing.
That's what they say. They
You
say
gotta wait though.
They say once you start, like it's like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. All right, so our next official sponsor in this game is going to be Dirt Coaster Academy. Dirt Coaster Academy for all your dirt coaster needs.
What do they do?
I mean, off-road scootering, off-road razor scooters, dirt coaster, or a theme park that is just filled with soil. You want to
kinda,
ride the
sorta,
dirt coaster?
That is
Yeah,
kind of.
that's pretty close.
Is it a bike park? Or is it
No,
trails?
it's actually it's training. It's bike
Oh,
training,
sweet.
mountain
Nice.
bike training. Yeah, they're legit. The guy, Toby and Nina run it. The fun thing about Toby is legit rider. Nina's a fantastic XC rider. All the respect in the world for her riding skill and all that. Toby, however, is I'm going to say I don't know how old he is. He's over 50, but the dude wins golds at the Go Nuts race. Like he's legit one of the best riders I've ever seen. Like it's insane. We took him on some stuff when he came and rode with. That's who broke her arm, by the way.
Oh, got it.
But when he came and rode with us, we were like, hey, this is a trail. You didn't get to ride it, but this is a trail that's real narrow and we don't know how to, it's like these trees. You kind of have to hop through it.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, he rode it one time. And Dale's pretty good at it. Dale's on that long ass bike. And then Toby comes up and literally like full speed is like, like done. It's like the conversation we were having the other night where it was like, you brought up the idea of when you watch a downhill rider for real, like it's not what you think. Take the fastest person you know and they're garbage water.
Oh, like the fastest person you know and have like seen, and then you just watch them get dusted.
Right.
Like watching like Nico or Luca ride some stuff is like you get like the ground shakes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
nuts.
he's not maybe that good, but he's very good.
But
right?
also on the cross country side, it's a little because you said he's an XC.
no,
guy.
he's
an
an enduro
enduro
guy.
guy.
Oh,
She's
he's an-
XC, so you get kind of a combination of both.
Cool.
Yeah, they're good. They're good peeps. You want to get the next
And
one?
he also has developed Bug Chitto.
Oh,
He's
sweet.
been the driving force.
Yeah.
There to get. They got a new pump track that's about to be done too. It looks
Yeah.
pretty rad.
And we'll circle back to that because I think there's some interesting things. He did some stuff that we'll tie in later on to talk about with you about, but they did some stuff kind of not rogue. They did it like us. They did it the right way, but they did some things that were really interesting from a development standpoint. We'll circle back to that just so it's part of our conversation.
The next one is so. I'm gonna go with hop and skip with Aaron Friesmeyer because if I say the actual name,
It's okay. You have to say it because
Yeah,
then you're
all
not
right.
really
You're
sponsoring the
obligated.
brand.
all right.
Yeah.
Run and Try here in Mobile, Alabama, is our
So-
next sponsor.
So it's like a try shot.
No,
Oh, really?
it's actually just basically running shoes, nutrition.
But it's like a storefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a running
that's
shop.
close
Nice.
enough, Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he outfits us with all of our running gear, our shoes, and
Yep.
he's got an endless, boundless amount of knowledge when it comes to fitness and training for stuff. So he keeps us all healthy.
He does a pretty good job of even like on the nutrition side, just giving us like he'll tell you like that stuff's garbage, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like why do you carry it in your store? Then he's like,
That's probably the person you want though. Like
No,
just
he's
get
legit.
the most
Yeah.
honest feedback from somebody who's probably really qualified to give it.
And
He's-
somebody that tries it himself.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
athletically
he
and-
physically
yeah.
uses it, and
Yeah.
so he'll even say he's sold me some stuff like what is that stuff called? New
Tailwind?
cow.
Oh,
What's the crap I like? New claw, white claw.
I thought
new,
it was Tailwind.
now tailwind is okay. There's
Okay.
the other one that's the no carb
Oh,
thing.
Scratch.
I like Scratch.
No, not
Scratch is
Scratch.
all
The starchy stuff we sold them out
Yeah.
of. We don't say
Yeah.
it on here anymore because we like it.
Yeah.
No one.
And I can't remember.
Everybody
it.
went and bought
That's
it.
why we can't say it anymore.
Are you not saying it because you think they should pay you to say it?
No, we also we're old.
No.
Andy, and we forgot the name of it. on
It's like- It's not on cloud. That's
no,
shoes,
that's
bro.
the shoes that he sells. He's the number
It's
one
like
on
new,
cloud dealer.
new.
Is it goo?
No,
Do
No,
you?
so it's
Goo's okay.
it's a slow carb. So it's
a
a high
starch.
carbohydrate. It's a modified starch. It's a high carbohydrate that works slow, that burns slow, but does not keep a bunch of carbs in your system.
Oh.
It's really good. Like you can physically, if you're riding, like you can physically
Yeah,
feel it hit
it's
you.
better.
It's really interesting, and there's no energy bump and craziness. It's really good shit.
Also,
Yeah,
if
it's
you would
good.
like to know what it is, go back and listen to some of our old episodes.
It's fucking-
Available on
we're awful.
Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere.
Absolutely
podcasts are
awful.
available.
By the way, the only thing about this that
It's
is
called
not safe for work
UCAN,
is
by the
that we
way.
don't edit language, so you're allowed to say whatever you want. So if
Oh,
you want
no,
to drop
I'm-
46 f bombs,
Hey, it's called UCAN, by the way. I just remembered.
UCAN.
UCAN.
I don't want to swear a bunch because I might meet my wife from doing this.
Ooh.
And there's this very small percentage.
That's how I met my wife.
Of possibility that my
Live
family's
now
gonna watch
on
this.
Dating the Rebellion.
There's an idea.
No, we should make bikes only, like farmers only, so bikers only. That's
That's
There
going to be
probably
a
is
terrible
bikers
place.
only.
That would be like. And I know
it's
this
just
is
a bunch of cheap people who complain a lot. No.
this is recycled content, but I don't know if you saw Brendog's take on like the Supercross athlete versus the like fastest downhill racer in the world, and like. He was using like Justin Barsha versus like himself, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like Dustin Barsha like meets a young lady, and you know he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to a race, and he takes her to A1, and he's got her in the Honda truck and like in a box, and then like mountain bikers are like, you ever been to Fort William before? You've been rained on, and she's like just gnats everywhere, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do 2 runs, and you have to walk up the side of a mountain to get there, and maybe you'll see me and maybe not. It's like we're not a breed that's really I don't think very appealing. But you guys,
I think you're better to marry in. Like you're better to bring someone with you if you're lucky enough to bring someone with. But then you don't want to marry inside the industry. I've done that. My wife is a costume designer in the movie industry.
Okay.
And so when we were together, like it's fine, but every once in a while, like shit got real, and I'd have to be like, why the fuck is this person in the wrong outfit? Right. And it got real fast. I mean, I slept on the couch that night, even though I was the director. I was the one that brought, like, it still didn't matter. So you have to think about that, like marrying into the industry.
Well, I've talked about this before. Like, I don't know that I would want to. I think it would be awesome if it could be possible, but I exist like you guys obviously recognize this, but like I sort of exist in a pretty niche space within mountain bike. Like free ride is sort of where I live. Like I don't race anymore, but like if I dated someone who rode mountain bikes, odds are we're probably not going to be doing the same thing, which I feel like is to your point. Like you're going to start mixing in places that you don't want to be, and then you're both going to hate it.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. It's 100% the truth. So what you're saying is your goal on this podcast is to maybe get lucky.
With Lucky Shot Coffee is a great way to start the.
Come on, is that really a sponsor? Well done.
I like this boss.
I thought you were joking.
Guys,
I was like, what?
That was the most organic shit
Wow,
on earth.
that's what you get here.
That was perfect, wasn't it?
Well, I assume I
I said
guessed that
coffee
one.
though. I messed up.
I was gonna
should have
say,
said
easy
Lucky
guess.
Shot.
He wouldn't have believed you either way, though. That's what makes it so good. He would have been like, lucky shot what? I mean, because that could go like south in 7 seconds.
Yeah,
It's good. I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I mean, we talked about this, but like, I do like a good like.
it's
just
a
cup of
great coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's low acid. She roasts it herself. She like, I mean, it's literally one of our riders' wives. She makes it. She does everything on her own. Like it's her primary bit. Very passionate about coffee. We talk a good bit about like, because I'll get with her and be like, hey, I need this kind of bean. She this past year for Christmas, I had her do a custom roast, so she did like a roast for us. So I got to kind of select the flavor and put it, not flavor like flavored coffee, but you know what kind of beans we wanted to use. I'm a snob, like I care about that kind of detail. So she's good. Lucky Shot's really good coffee. It's tasty. You can buy it at luckyshotcoffee.com.
I assume they're probably like sourcing it pretty ethically, because I know like the coffee game is like there's a real, I don't know if you ever looked into it, but like there's a really dark side to like
It's like the avocado game.
It's like avocado or like
and
like,
honey. Honey's got real, there's like a whole honey task force that does nothing but bust black market honey. That's legit.
Whoa.
Like with guns and shit. Like it's a legit thing.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I heard about the avocado thing, and I've
Avocado,
obviously you have like the diamond issue, like which I don't know if I'm sure is still a problem, but it was sort of more sensationalized years and years ago. But wow, I didn't know that the honey game.
Honey game's
So what
legit.
is it? People are just like, what is the illegality to it? They're just importing it, or what?
Yeah. So a lot of times what happens is the honey comes in. It's supposed to be U.S. honey or honey from. I'm trying to think of one of the other. I think Chile's a big spot for honey. Sorry, Chile, if I'm wrong, but it's a foreign country's honey.
Sorry to the entire country of Chile.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, roll tide, but they So what would happen is the origin is from Chile, and then as the honey is brought up, it's cut with Chinese honey, and the problem is Chinese honey, there's not the same regulations on pesticides and control. So then what happens is organic honey is sold as organic, but it's full of really dangerous toxins.
They're mislabeling.
But they're selling it at a premium rate, so it's fraud, and it's like a gold rush scenario. It's really crazy.
So what you're saying is those companies haven't paid off the FDA like some of
The
the other
FCC
companies.
won't let me be. Yeah, that's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like one of those kind of scenarios where it's, I don't know, it's really fascinating type
But
stuff.
when you're drinking Lucky, you don't have to worry about any of that. That's
No,
why
because
they're
it's
a
ethically sourced.
and it's a sponsor. Of
She
this podcast.
handpicks every single bean.
Wow.
Everyone.
Dear Shannon,
She
I'm
does,
sorry.
she does some really awesome stuff with like she does the female blend. I don't know. I'm sorry, I forget the name.
It's
of
like
it.
it's like a girl power blend.
Yeah, the girl power. So what she
Women's
does
empowerment.
is she buys the beans from female owned coffee farms.
Oh, that's what's up.
Coffee
cool.
bean farms.
So they're
And-
they're actually cautious about like where they're.
dude,
That's
she's-
what's up.
And
Yeah,
she does
that's awesome.
another Beasley blend, which is for they donate money to the ASPCA. I think.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but
No,
I know
it's
they
one of
donate
the,
to one of
it's some. I think it's ASPCA.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting is like one of the things that we've always tried to do is make sure that if we're going to have somebody, we align with some of the brands and mentality and all that stuff. If they go off and go rogue on us, that's their business.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, like if we can keep them happy, because it matters to us. At the end of the day, I'm just going to lead into a conversation point. One of the things that we've been talking about over the course of this weekend, so that everyone knows at home, what's happened is Andy was flown in. We imported him from
not from Chile.
not from Chile. He's 30% Chinese honey. No, we brought him in from. He came in from Georgia. He came and rode the rebellion. Got to experience that.
Got broke off,
Got broke off a little bit. That's true.
that's a whole other thing we should probably talk about moving forward. But yes,
I mean, I was a good. You literally incriminated yourself on
dude,
that.
I got broke harder than I've been broken in a long time,
See, we go hard down here in the South.
and I broke your brake lever off.
It's all right. I can grow a new one.
Wow.
we in Chile.
But it's fun. Like the trails are sick, but don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no, but so the whole part of what it was is coming down to talk about lots of different things. And when we met you through a conversation with Chase, and one part of that is in some ways I feel like. Oh, let me put my whole thought together first. So the idea is he comes down, hangs out, rides with us. We have conversations, and one of the big things we talked about that I thought was kind of fascinating is we talked a lot about how maybe the culture in the Southeast is we've talked about it on the show a lot, especially after spending some time at Oak Mountain with what you guys did on Tails. But the culture in the Southeast, the mountain bike culture, is being overlooked. It's not often discussed as much as it should, because what you see in popular media and popular culture and popular mountain bike literature is the three coasts. Like you're either West Coast, you're BC, or you're East Coast somewhere. And usually Asheville, right? Or whatever the good stuff.
Or like the far Northeast. Like there's a lot of good stuff in like New Hampshire and Vermont, but
Right.
yeah, like I think
But it's an East Coast side of things. And there's a whole middle part of the country that's being completely left out. And so we had jumped into some dialogue on that. And I thought it was kind of interesting. One of the things that brought up to, I'm setting up this whole point, is at dinner last night. And that's my most Rogan statement I will make the whole
I
show.
had dinner last night.
At dinner last night, we were
Nobu.
talking.
When we were having dinner at Nobu last night.
That's exactly, just crushing it like champs.
For sure.
For sure. Is one of the things that you and I talked about is one of the things that you enjoy about riding, and you can always just be like, I'm not going to answer that, so feel free. But one of the things that you mentioned that you enjoyed about riding for you was like what it does for you as a human being from a mental health standpoint.
For sure, yeah. Well, for sure. There's a big inside joke there, but we're not going to get into it. But yeah, I mean, I think that the aspect, like we were just talking about this before, it's like the sport where we're at is sort of at like critical mass, and which I think a lot can be done or said from the COVID boom. Like for us with Fox, like we were selling stuff like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because people were looking for something to do, and that for a lot of people happened to be ride mountain bikes. But to your point, yeah, like I am open, like I'm a big advocate for mental health. Like I struggled big time.
Yep.
Publicly will say it. Like depression was like a big aspect of like the year 2020 to like 2022. And I had moved from the Midwest, specifically Chicago, to the greater Atlanta area, which is where I still am, and was just like in this rut. And so like I rode a lot as a kid. Like we grew up in northern Kentucky. My family's from western PA. But like we grew up like poaching these like golf course rollers. But point being is like I got in this rut and was like, man, what things can I find that like bring joy or some sort of like peace to life? And it was just like going around trails. Like it was like pushing my bike up the side of the hill and then coming back down and do it again. And I think that the mental health aspect, which amongst a lot of other stuff too, that I'm sure you'll get to, is like you can solve a lot of your problems by doing things that make you happy. And I think for a lot of people, like being on bike is a good way to do that because it's a stress reliever, it's community, it's being part of something bigger than yourselves. Like, for example, the Oak Mountain Project, which I'm sure we'll get into. But it all sort of wraps itself into like the concept of, hey, like I can separate myself from whatever kind of internal or external problems you have and just have fun while doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the crucial side of that is for me, I'm in the same boat, right? My depression it's run for a long time. We talked about like mine is not something where people are like, oh, you can just take a drug. I refuse to. That's just a personal thing. Sure. Not saying that I'm not anti that. I'm not about to Tom Cruise anything on the couch right now with Oprah style, but that's an old reference. Jesus,
you should do it right now. Stand on the chair.
Maybe so. But I do know that for me, like I need it because as a creative outlet, like I burn a lot of energy mentally, and if I don't have that, then there's usually a void inside of me. And if I don't use mountain biking to help fill that with another aspect of creativity, like it's almost like my brain has been rewired to constantly be on for some creative moment. And mountain biking, you said something really brilliant, which I thought was awesome, which was the idea of line choice being something for you is like a creative thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Could you mind kind of just saying?
Yeah.
I think it's because it's real.
I think we were talking about art. Like we were talking about the aspect of creativity, and like it's crazy because I have some relatives, we'll shout them out. Aunt Andrea and Aunt Karen are both like artistic, or I'm sorry, Aunt Terry, Aunt Karen as well. Are very artistic people from like a traditional sense. I don't have an artistic bone in my body, but I think a lot of what I do carry is a creative mindset. And there's this process of like picking, 300 feet of trail and being like, I can ride this 6 different ways. And I think like the folks that are looking to pinch seconds in a race run, they do that, but there's a different way to do it that's like, oh, I could go around this corner high or low, or at half speed, or at as fast as I can go. And it just sort of opens your eyes. Like, so a lot of that came from skiing. So like I used to ski quite a bit. I was pretty good. And I would look at like, I skied a lot of park and you'd see this jump and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe I can like slide up the side of it or like find this little butter zone. And on a bike, it's pretty similar because there's like not one, this is a big metaphorical phrase, but like there's not one line to like riding or life. And I think that like if you can go, oh, maybe I'll go a little bit right. Maybe your end goal, if your goal is to get to the bottom really fast, or if somebody's got a camera out and you want to look good, maybe looking outside of the like line everybody's riding is the way that you can set yourself apart. Not to prove something to somebody, but to yourself to be like, oh, that was really fun. So yeah, the line choice thing is like it's a weird metaphor, but I think it's super accurate.
Well, no, I mean, it's real. We've talked about it before. Like, it's a big deal. There's a guy that you got to see it and ride with him twice, actually, Jakey Poo. And Jakey Poo is like, that guy won't be on this podcast because he hates podcasting. He's just a bitter old son of a bitch for some reason. But that guy legitimately is this line choice guy. That's all he does is choose that. That's all. I mean, he literally, there's shots of him just standing, holding his bike. It's become a joke. He's staring at his bike and he's not thinking about parts. I always thought it was about parts, but he told us, no, he's like, I just look at my bike and then I visualize what I'm going to do on the next one that I could do different than the first one. Mm-hmm. That's that guy's entire like ethos. And he has a high stress project management job. Whether he likes it or not doesn't matter. That's his reality. Sure. But that's how he zens himself into that, to your point.
Same. Yeah, like I'll go to, so like we live in Duluth, or I live in Duluth, Georgia, so I ride Big Creek. So shouts to Rambo. So it's Roswell Alpharetta mountain bike organization. And like I'll go to Big Creek on a Saturday morning and I'll ride the same trail like 50 times. And I'll just like sit on a stump and be like, oh, like let's try something else. Like, because we exist in a niche area as it is. Like the gravity side of bicycles, like it's few and far between.
Right.
So we can't kind of go anywhere. Right. But like if you find a place where you're like, okay, there's progression to be had here, you can sort of get into that, whether it's like flow state or like Zen state or what, you can get into that zone and really just kind of like you come away. It's like doing an ice bath. You like get out.
Here we get
like,
back.
Although there's less suck by like riding
right.
your bike versus getting into an ice path.
Yeah.
But the feeling you get afterwards is pretty similar.
No,
You're
no,
just like, oh, I feel like something that I don't know how to replicate.
Sometimes I think that the mental health side is hit because when you're doing your trail, like your trail design or your trail ride, or you're shut your mind off to everything else except for that. So like you constantly search for that like few moments when you have that ability to just, and when you hit it and you're like, damn, that was it. Like the zen that you're talking about that you get from like, damn, I just notched it. Like there's no way I could hit that trail better unless I changed totally the whole thing. Yeah. But I think that that's what we do it as trail builders too. Like I go out there and shut off. There's no worry. Like the only worry I have is, damn, that stump is right in the way. Like, what am I going to do? Like, but everything else is just gone. You know, like it's a disconnect. And I think that's like our back to our roots of humanism, like back in the woods with no technology and like the rudimentary parts of life.
Well, that too. And I think like for me, at least there's this like inverse of like, the more flat out you are, the more like still your mind is, because it's like if you're really that locked into like I'm gonna go 1,000 miles an hour down this section of trail, like we'll use Tails for example. Like that's a trail where you pretty much like if you're thinking about other stuff, you're gonna get broke. And I'm sure Chase will tell you the same thing. Like,
yeah, no, we wrote it.
You said something though that's interesting about Chase, which is like that trail is Chase.
It's
and
literally
frankly,
human. Like if Chase Draper, shouts to Chase. If Chase were a trail, like Tails.
Yeah, it's 100%. The thing is, it's that focus game. It's the same way with conversation with him. If you take your mind out of that conversation for any second, he got you. And that's it. And once he, I'm
gonna get roasted so bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal. But
listen.
once he gets you, then like once he's like Emperor Chase will appreciate this. I don't think you're a Star Wars guy. You definitely won't.
I love Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Well, Chase is in my mind. He's Palpatine
For sure.
He's 100%.
He's just always his brain. Like this isn't the Chase Draper pod, but like he's always. You can just tell in his brain like something's turning. Like he's getting ready for something.
One of the things I thought was interesting that he's done up there, we were floored. So we went up there, and I don't, you may or may not heard this episode, but like we jokingly called it Walk the Rebellion. We failed miserably up there. Like Storyteller's
nuts.
It's way beyond our pay grade. You can see what we practice on. So most of Oak Mountain, we can handle a lot of that stuff. Storyteller is not something we can prepare. We can't train for it. We don't have the rocks to train for that, right? So we go up there and Chase is like, hey, you guys got to try Tails. And we go do that. And we didn't know, I guess at the time, we knew a little bit about it, but he kind of gave us a rundown. And I think it was more of a preview. It wasn't officially open.
Yeah.
When did y'all go? Like how roughly like when? Because I know.
You know when they were still having a little drainage problem at the bottom?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. It was that.
It was that. It was right before it officially opened.
Yeah.
So before like we were there doing the ribbon cutting and stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
But we may or may not have rode it that day.
We previewed it.
We walked down it.
We walked the Rebellion.
We walked all the way down it.
Is that like the Ride the Rebellion light? It's just like walk the Rebellion?
Dude, we couldn't
trot
ride
the Rebellion?
No, there was ride Storyteller. We had to walk it.
Stumbling down.
Oh, just because it was so nuts?
Yeah.
It is gnarly.
We couldn't do it.
It's
we
steep,
literally
dog.
walked it. We walked it like total losers.
Yeah, I think I got a
was-
video of Drew after I walked down, not that I rode down, but he was like walking down. I was like, and this was the day that Ride the Rebellion became Walk the Rebellion.
Yeah.
Like here's
It's
video
steep.
proof.
I mean,
It's
like
brutal.
honestly, like that's apart from some zones, and I'm not trying to gas Chase and Will and Reagan up as much as I'd like, although they deserve it. Like that Storyteller Trail is bananas. Like it's really steep because I went with Will and Abby. Did you meet Will and Abby?
I've met Will and
He's
Abby.
met him.
Yeah,
They
so
weren't
like
there that
we
day.
were there for the ribbon cutting, which was crazy because that was the first time I met Chase. Like it was just the ribbon cutting. Oh, look at this
That's not good.
standing desk going up.
Yeah, it's going crazy on me.
So we were there.
Ain't no laws when you got the white claws.
Apparently.
The standing desk with the claw. Yeah, we were there and like we did the whole day and then at the end of the day, Will was like, "Yo, come look at this," and we pushed up to that like on off the rock, dude. It's real time.
It's some. I mean, that is legit. Like
Yeah.
so to circle back, which is a great way to say this. that's what I'm saying is interesting about the Southeast. Like that's stuff that I didn't know was happening in Birmingham, which is 3 hours away from what you rode today.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the terrain, that difference, 3.5, 4 hours, major difference in terrain, but that's a legit ride. And then you go even more north. One of my favorite haunts is I love riding in Chattanooga. Like I like the trail system there. I think it's fun. I've not done Knoxville because everyone told me I'm not there yet. And that's cool. It's my understanding I'm probably not there yet.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, I just
Knoxville's fun, but I mean, maybe. I mean, no.
Yeah,
know your limits
way,
for sure.
I appreciate you being cordial in that manner. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We are Walk the Rebellion, to be fair.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
To be fair.
You're just gonna strike the title out and just walk instead.
Yeah, we did it on that episode. We
did on that.
retitled
Oh,
the
really?
whole thing.
Yeah,
it was
sweet.
great. But like seeing the Southeast and that side of it, it looks like, and I don't know how far it's going, but it's fascinating to me to see how it's growing. And one of the things I thought was interesting, look, Alabama, we've got a lot of sins of the past. We got some errors. We got some stupidity, but we're trying. Like people here are trying, and we're always trying to grow and do something. I was floored. I think you and I had a conversation off camera, not on the podcast. This is not being obsequious, to use my expensive word, towards your company or the company you represent. But literally, we were floored. Like, wait, Fox sponsored a trail in Alabama?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Chase did that. Like, no offense, Chase, but like, and Chase helped make that happen. Like, how does that? And is it part of the trail trust? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's basically what it is obviously the name of the trail makes sense because, and this might be a good opportunity to deliver my gifts. But our name, right? So there's Fox Racing and Fox Factory. There is a tie between the two. It's actually the guys who started them both are brothers, but we're the tail because they flipped a coin. One got heads, one got tails. So we're Fox Factory, and our O is a tail. And so it just and I don't know exactly what the ethos or how it came to be. I'm sure Chase does, and Scott Vickery, who's another Fox guy out of Trustville, Alabama. It was a sponsored deal or a finance or granted deal from Trail Trust, which is our nonprofit organization or nonprofit arm that's sort of geared to making the sport of cycling, whether it's gravel, mountain bike, downhill, like you name it, or I guess trail, downhill, whatever.
Right.
Making it a little bit more accessible because historically it's not a particularly equitable space. I mean, you guys know. Like,
shit, what you rode, everything you rode there was hand cut. There's not a single machine in there.
No. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's like
it's brutal. It's
a free sport,
right?
After you get over the barrier to entry.
Correct. Okay, good point.
But that's like what we talked about last night. It was like, I don't think that the person or the individual that wants to get good at riding bikes needs a $5,000 or $10,000 bike. You can have tons of fun on something you bought at Academy or Dick's Sporting Goods.
Fair enough.
At some point, you're going to be like, okay, I need to go bigger. I need to have a better rig, which is where the problem exists. But yeah, so back to the tails thing. It was a relationship that was built through us and Oak Mountain by way of Chase.
Yep.
And our name's on it. So it's got our Trail Trust stamped into our Trail Trust logo stamped into the trailhead sign. So
yeah, I mean, again, if people haven't ridden it, it's open now. Obviously, if you ride it wet, you're a piece of shit. But
yeah, don't ride it wet.
Yeah, it's
Chase
so
will
good.
find you.
He will. He
actually will find you.
He will hunt you down. Yep.
Yeah, he becomes Liam Neeson's
Sasquatch on a Sunday.
You got Sasquatch on a Sunday.
Every
What is
podcast that dude walks by.
That is crazy.
Sasquatch.
Taking out his trash. I should have him take out our trash just so we could do it.
Yeah, that guy. Every single episode we've ever recorded, he walks past the
he
window.
walks by. We've never shown him
I
that.
just saw him.
One day I'm going to have him on the show. He's kind of silly that way.
We are silly because we pay attention to Sasquatch.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's kind of fascinating if you guys. So you don't know the origin of how it got connected to Oak Mountain off the top of your head.
Not off the top of my head. No.
So what is the scenario for somebody to go about? Obviously, there's got to be.
Chase
it can't just be
applies.
like
Chase
stick
applies
your hand out.
everything.
So if that's the case, I do know.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't just
yeah.
go to Fox and be like,
Correct. So,
Please?
and that's part. So, I get what you're asking now. So, the way that Trail Trust works is, let's say you have, your trails here,
Yeah.
and you're looking for some support to develop and grow your local scene. You can reach out to us and say, like, here's our proposition. Here's why we think that we should be supported by y'all. And that's what Chase and his team did.
Yeah.
They reached out to us, and we've done it. Like, the list is really long of like the trail networks in North America and globally. We're actually, I think fairly recently, Taiwan. So we manufacture bike in Taiwan.
Yep.
And the scene there is like kind of indifferent, but we've started to work with folks there to help develop trail networks. So yeah, to your point, that Chase and Chase's organization Bump reached out to us and said, "Hey, we think we're doing something good." What got him to get our name on it? I actually don't know, other than maybe he's just a slick negotiator.
Which I'm probably
He's freaking Palpatine.
Yeah, he just held him down.
He's the emperor.
But
He's the
also,
emperor.
like, what they're doing, like, you guys were there, like, what they're doing there is incredible. Like, you go and ride those trails with the sort of crew that they have, and the vibe is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Like, there's no ego. There's no, like, I'm better than you. Like, it really is. Like, and even in the 3 or 4 months I've been involved with Chase and those folks, like, I'll drive 2 hours for the weekend to get there and ride with those fools. Like, it's just such a fun group of people. And Bump and Grind, which I'm sure we'll talk about too, is the race. I think it's at the end of June. It might stand corrected here,
It's
but
the
I believe
beginning is like June 10th.
early June. Okay,
it's
yeah,
early June.
dates are kind of beside me, but we're pushing hard for that. We're behind it. Our Trussville, Alabama team is going to, I think, provide some vehicles, at least per Chase, to shuttle some folks. And I think Chase and the race organizers are going to have some access too. So, yeah, and it's awesome because it's not, no offense to the Southeast like race organizers, but that's Chase and his crew and us doing it. Like, there's no backing to that. It's just purely grassroots, and it's gonna be big.
the one thing you didn't get to go, right? Is that the story?
The
To
bump and grind? Yeah. I got last. Remember,
Right.
I'm still bitter about that.
Yeah, because you DFN'd.
DNF did not finish when I asked for DNS because I said
Day for night.
I
Sorry,
could
that's
not-
an industry term.
I couldn't go. I signed up to race the Super D, I think, and I messaged Chase, was like, "Hey, keep my entry fee. I want to support the race, but I can't come." I said, "Just don't put DNF on my thing because I don't look like a bitch. Put DNS."
Oh, so they're like, you never started, you never didn't finish.
He
You just-
DNF'd me, so I'm still bitter about that.
It happens from time to
I'm
time.
not that bitter. I'm just.
Did you? So is there more? So what's fascinating to me is like, does that mean that there's more trails beyond? So what we're seeing from that trust, what you just said is essentially that's global. The trust is a global trust.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's an like organization or effort put forth by Vox Factory as a company. Like it's extremely inclusive,
But it's relatively new though, right?
extremely new. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is very new. I think 2021.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it's super. I mean, there's other companies that are doing it. Like Santa Cruz has Pay Dirt. Specialized, I think, has a program.
Yeah,
that's-
what's theirs is called getting
Freaking-
them out, getting the
Santa
trails.
Cruz is that's a pretty good name. Pay Dirt's pretty good.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. But
But I'm not with them, so
Yeah,
shut the hell
like,
up, sir. I'm gonna
well-
talk about Fox.
No, Santa Cruz is cool because they got like the syndicate and stuff
That's
like
their- yeah,
that. It's
that's
pretty
their
awesome.
downhill race team.
Yeah,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
Santa Cruz Syndicate. Which
I just
is
mean from branding standpoint. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah, they're
great. I
great.
mean, the catch is Pay Dirt is very industry, like
that's
inside
a great
baseball.
name,
like you
yeah.
have to, but you have to know what it is.
it's not as good as Fox Factory Trail Trust, though.
Trail Trust is better because it. No, in fairness, from a branding standpoint, I'm
can
just
tell
saying
what
like
it is.
more people like you could go ask Sasquatch guy and he would know what that is more than if I said, "Hey, what do you think Pay Dirt is?" Do you know what I'm saying?
Fair, yeah.
Not trash anybody.
Horses for courses.
Don't let me cut away from you so you're not responsible for anything that just happened.
Oh no, we're just chatting.
I'm just throwing the shade. So if it's that big of a space and it's reaching out there, I mean, is there like a target thing that you guys are chasing? Because it seems like a lot of times these corporate things, the challenge with some of the corporate stuff is great intentions come in, right? And then it's like it gets hard and it gets challenging, and then you get an influx of people. That's why to me, as a person who lives in Alabama, who has ridden Oak Mountain or who appreciates Oak Mountain and sees the culture developing, I think it's a big deal to see something happen that close to us, right? That makes us feel like, wait a second, we're not part of the normal network. Like that's a big deal now we're suddenly, it gives us inspiration and spirit, which interestingly enough makes us more protective and more interested in our own trails, right? Because it does. It's if you bring people up by making them feel included and special,
Yep.
then that's how you literally change entire environments.
Definitely.
But it seems like do you feel like there's a longevity? Is there a plan in place for them to like keep going with this? Is it one of those things of like, it doesn't feel like a PR move, but
No.
I'm just asking. I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit.
No, 100% not. And like as easy as that might feel or sound to say like, yeah, this is just a clever PR play for a big, bike OEM or like the whole other side of our business too is powered vehicles. So it's
Right.
like Ford Raptor and Ford, Bronco Raptor. But the truth behind it is it's like the folks that are pushing Trail Trust and are the originators of it actually want to see the sport become a little bit more, or not a little bit more, because it needs to be a lot more inclusive and equitable.
Yep.
And like I said, with how you asked, how do you get involved? Like you just reach out.
Right.
Because we don't look at it as like, oh, you have to be, a certain number, like let's use Sorba, for example, or your local Sorba chapter. Like you have to have X number of members for us to consider you. Like you don't. The other piece too is like, it's a sport historically dominated by males, right? Specifically white males.
Right.
And I think that why that has been is it's a scary thing to do, which I don't know that has anything to do with white males being involved, but you may make others feel a bit alienated because they think, oh, I'm not going to be welcome here. Or, if like, let's say you're a woman who wants to get into the sport, like it's got to be pretty intimidating.
We
right?
talk about it all the time. Like, can you imagine, like, in any other circumstance, just as dudes, let's say we're
Right.
going into a sport and we step into a scenario as men where I'm married, he's married, you're not, right? You're going to find your wife on this podcast, though. As we walk in and you walk into an environment that's nothing but, people who identify as the opposite from you, right? Sexually. And so you're standing in this space and there's someone who is in the different space. That is intimidating as all get out. Like in any way, shape, or form. Because now all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a second. You're going to be on your best behavior a little bit more, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm going to feel intimidated to be like, man, I don't want to do anything to not physically over. I just mean like, I could screw that up so fast. I have the ability to swallow my foot faster than anybody on earth. Mm-hmm. And I could do that and say something or do something. But also I'd be a little afraid of like, I can't compete with them. What if they're really gnarly and good at it? Like, I mean,
the same goes though. Like I always
flip it is what I mean.
Flip it, right?
That's
like,
what I mean. So
like
they have a woman that comes in, it's all dudes. Like, come on, we're all broing out and all
exactly. And it's like we would be. There's not a fair thing. This is like there's not a fair way to even compare. But like, let's say we got involved with a sport that we've never done that's historically or currently dominated by women, right? We would be in the same boat of being like, I don't want anything to do with this because they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I like to watch my mom and dad. They live in South Carolina. I won't like dox them, but they have been recently
first
going
time doxed.
Yeah, first time doxed. They've been like going to these equestrian events.
Yep.
And it's like,
there you go.
I look
That's
at
a great
that.
one.
Yeah. Like I look at
There's
that
a data chick.
and I'm like, absolutely, pardon my language, but fuck that. Like it looks terrifying because it's like, yeah, we dance around on our little bikes, but you're on like 1,000-pound horse jumping over these gates.
Yeah, he's like legit
me
scared.
Me too,
though.
dog.
I hate them, bro.
They're gorgeous, majestic animals, but I don't want to be anywhere near them because have you like seen how strong a horse is?
Yeah.
And then you have these like young gals that are just like ripping these, like they're just going crazy on these horses, and I'm like, look, respect it forever, but I want nothing to do with that.
I dated a young lady, and she was like, all right, I'm going to show you how to post, because there's a way you ride English saddles. Western saddles one way. And so she had me posting. You're so tired by the time you're done with it. Like, I'm just not physically, mentally, or emotionally built for how much work it is to ride a horse and what they're doing. Ironically enough, you end up using some of that skill set when you're on a bike. It's not 1,000-pound animal, right? You're talking about maybe a heavy e-bike you're dealing with.
Or like even like look at moto. Like I love watching moto. I have zero interest in ever getting on a moto because I think it'll be it. Y'all have to come to my funeral.
Right.
But like it's just one of those things where it's an intimidating thing, as is the going back to it, like the gravity focused aspect of mountain biking. Like you could die. Like you could reasonably die every time you go riding.
Right. We say this a good bit. One of the things that we try to do is like a local. I mean, I can't speak to chapters of IMBA and all that stuff. I'm not anti any of that stuff. But what I know is what we found was we could remove all the blockades and be like, hey, if you're cool, come ride. And so like that's what the Rev became. And so for us, it was more like, and that's what I feel like Oak Mountain's doing really well. Like,
so you guys are doing well too.
Yeah, well, I
like,
appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure.
But it's like being able to roll in there. And so we go hang out, and it was after a while, it's just people started showing up, and more people showed up. And then it was like, you know what? Let's grab this. And shout out to like Carrie for being like ballsy enough to be fucking standing in the middle of the situation. Carrie carries her own. Like she won't even take shit from me and Dale. She'll talk shit about this exact conversation back to us because she's strong enough to do that. But at the same time, she shows leadership in that space. And then she turns around, and as soon as there's an opportunity to bring somebody in, she'll do like a ladies' night ride or something else. And then she's telling them about it. So it's just the fact of like instilling the confidence in each other to say, like, I learned from Carrie, and she's saved my ass more times than anybody on certain ride stuff. She's learned from us. We've all gotten to be better riders. That's what the community's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this bullshit of like stupid ego. And that's what I think is fascinating. Like outside of the major hubs, I can't speak to it. I don't live on the East Coast. I don't live in BC, obviously. I don't live in that space. But what I see is like these smaller little pockets. You get this really pure mountain biking. And it's people who just really love that bike and they really love to ride.
And I think too, it's like the person I want to ride with is like, because we've all been there, right? You meet a group of people, they're all probably way faster and better than you. But like the person I want to ride with is like the one who is feeling like they're the slowest in the group, or they're like new to the sport, man, woman, whatever, doesn't make a difference. But like I know what it feels like to be like sort of the low person on the totem pole in the like bike space. And like every time a new person comes to ride with us, I'm like, let's go. Like let's go at whatever pace you want or whatever feature you want a session. Like I'll hang out with you all day. I don't care. Like,
I mean, that's literally what he did. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like Dale is the reason we say this is a zero drop podcast is because quite literally he would do these zero drop rides where like
also,
I mean, other dudes would
I figured I was gonna ask about that.
Other dudes would blaze away and leave people, and Dale's like, hey, come on, and just encouraging and doing the stoke thing and sharing it.
And then I would make fun of you when you caught back up.
Now he will make fun of you. He made fun of me for years or for months.
But it's like to me, growing up in the athletic sport world, like that's your rite of passage, right? Like everybody started there. Everybody sucked once. Nobody came out of the womb like, dude, I'm going to go rip this bike and I'm going to show up at group rides and beat everybody's ass. No, it didn't happen like that. So once you get to that point where you are beating everybody's ass, you don't have to act like you never felt that, right? Just like you said, you know what it feels like because we all started there. But I think that what we've done, to our credit, is like we've built a community where there's no cool trails, right? And then we built the trails with the community. So it's like they have ownership of what we have. And I think that's what Chase is doing. That's
the key, though.
Yeah, you got to give them ownership.
The key is ownership, and if that's what the Trail Initiative ends up doing, if that's what you guys do, that's going to not only you're not going to change the sport because you came out with, and I mean this complimentary. I don't prefer RockShox. I prefer Fox over RockShox personally. Different opinion.
I just bought it because I like the color, bro.
Can you guys please make him just a red?
No, I think, I mean, I'm not here to talk product, but like, I think everybody's making good stuff.
If I know you can't say those things on camera, but I'm just kidding. If at the end of the day, if that company can live up to that and help create this micro community by doing those trails, think about this. You and I are connecting. We connected on a level of how much it means to us from a healthcare standpoint, mental health.
For sure.
Think about how many people they're going to potentially help. Like that's huge to me. Like that's like big. I get big about like you can't tell. Like it moves me
for sure.
So for me to see that's fucking huge. That's big.
And it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, regardless of whether we did something for one person or 500 people or 5,000, the effort and the commitment on behalf of Trail Trust and on behalf of Fox Factory is genuine,
right?
And you'll never know until you experience it. Like I can sit here and tell you how great it is until my head turns blue, but it's when you go and you hang out with like the Oak crew, then you're like, okay, we played a very small role in a very big thing. And that makes everybody feel pretty good. And it all comes back to like how we commit to diversity, equity, and inclusion as an organization, because there really isn't a way to quantify the feeling of knowing that like you put a smile on somebody's face, or you played a part in like, we're not saying we solved it or we did it, right? But the contributions that we made, big or small, have gone to the point to where it's like people are like, you guys are like, let's talk more about this. And that I feel like is the way that a DEI initiative, because at the end of the day, Trail Trust is an extension of our diversity, equity, and inclusion team. And when done well, it's great. It's pretty hard to do well.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely is. Like, you can get yourself into a corner in that space, like, pretty easily, because then you realize you might be offending someone, or maybe you're not reaching all of the appropriate channels.
Right.
But I really do stand by the fact that there was a ton of effort that went into making sure we did this right the first time. And I think in the coming years, it'll start to become more apparent, because this is still very new. Like, this isn't like, we've been doing this for 10
you
years.
said it's like 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's
21.
extremely new.
Yeah,
It might even be, I don't know the exact dates, but it might be less than that.
Right.
So it's something that the effort is there, the commitment's there, and the momentum that gains as we continue to invest in underprivileged communities, or, like you mentioned, maybe some zones in the United States or the globe that just kind of get overlooked. That's how you build something that's bigger, like I said earlier, like something that's bigger than yourself.
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at today.
It's crazy, like, because we've talked to Lei Poo, Jakey Poo about it, who, again, won't be on this podcast ever, but he talks about, like, he lived in Thailand and somewhere else. Maybe it was Singapore. And dude, they were building trails. The trail was like just this one steep downhill. There's like 2 other guys that rode bikes, and they hand cut this stuff, and they would just send it, and they'd crash at the bottom, and but it's so free ride and raw. It's the most raw stuff. And he tells these stories, and you're like, dude, because it's pure love. It's literally the pure love of the bike, and it's being in that. And there's no politics. There's no arguments. There's no, I mean, I'm sure there is about like what is better, what tire is better. It's stupid. We were joking about it earlier. Like, what's the number one thing? Is it dropper post or 29 inch tires?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, a one by, yeah,
Give
one
up
by
a dropper.
or dropper.
That could be a new segment for your future guests. Would you rather give up your
we do
dropper or your one by?
But that's his question, though. And that's a good question. Where are you on it? Because we already we pre-chatted.
Well, I'd probably rather keep my dropper.
Really?
Yeah, just because I can bang around those gears all day, but that dropper is so necessary.
Yeah, but you could bring a tool, arguably,
and just pop it down.
And just pop it down and then ride back up.
Yeah, whenever you ride with someone that doesn't have one by and you hear them behind you, you're like,
just crunching.
Just destroying their frame from the chain slapping around. And like, it's scary sounding. I don't know. Maybe I'm
Where are you
torn.
on it? Did
Maybe
you
I'm
say?
torn.
I would get, I think if I had to pick one, I would give up the dropper post. But also, I ride primarily just like winch your way to the top and blast down. So, like, yeah, if I have to adjust it once at the top with a wrench.
Yeah.
Think how suck it would be though if you're like suddenly doing XC and you're just like, oh.
Well, and then the other piece too is you kind of have a product progression issue, in that, like, these big long bikes, if you put a 3x on there, you'd be smashing that chainring.
I don't even know if my
bike
bike isn't even capable of it.
Most aren't. Yeah, I don't know that there's many left.
No,
that
I don't
are.
think my frame can do the front derailleur.
So, like, growing up, I had a giant, actually, Montgomery Cyclery. We were talking about Ohio, well, Kentucky.
Same thing.
My dad bought me a giant. It was a Rincon, and it had a 3x on it. And, like, one day, like, he was at work, and I took the two, like, I unbolted the other two chain rings, and it was like, I was like, oh man, this is convenient, because all my friends,
a BMX bike now.
That's exactly why, because, like, I had friends that rode BMX, and I never had, like, a good BMX bike until kind of now, and I was like, oh, this is great. There was like a 12-tooth chain ring, but it just looked cool, and now here we are with, like, nobody's running a front mech.
Well, and it's funny, like, we talked about this yesterday about how, like, we were out at the Reb riding, and you look around and how much money in bike parts and bike stuff is there. Like, we are consumers of the industry, like, in a small niche area. But that's what I think is cool about Fox, like, reaching to Oak Mountain. Like, there's people riding everywhere. Like, hey, let's focus on some of those small areas that are maybe underutilized or under-noticed or underrepresented.
Well, it's also non-conditional. It seems like it's very, like, the situation is a non-conditional, like, there's conditions that must be met, I'm sure, to achieve the money.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not based on these things. I'm sure
Right.
it's like looking at it from, oh wow,
There's not an arbitrary
this letter,
number.
this essay, whatever it is, was written so
Yeah.
well. We're in. That's
Well,
but that,
and, like-
that makes an argument for passion.
Yeah, and that's to your point too. Is like the prerequisite. What like you could be building a pump track in downtown Atlanta, or you could be building a full-fledged bike park like what Nico has done at Rock Creek and Cayuga.
Right.
In our eyes, doesn't really matter. Like it's what you're committed to give back that is what's most important, because that's, like I said, that's how you grow momentum and how you grow the youth. Like I've shifted my whole sort of mindset as a rider from like, oh, let's try to race, to like, oh, I met a kid at the trails who's like on a hardtail and he's ripping. And I'm like, okay, let's make sure that this young gal or girl or guy or gal, like let's make sure that they stick with this, but they also have fun with it. Because like we were talking about, it's like the whole Strava paradox. It's like you can get yourself into a place where you kind of hate it. Like you just hate the sport because you're just chasing your KOM, or you're chasing, like, no offense to the Strava folks, but like sometimes people get webbed or like wound into this web that like, oh, my Strava time is like indicative of who I am as a person. And like that kind of seems wrong to me.
We talked about. I mean, that was a major.
Hot take.
That was a major. Yeah, no, it's a great hot take, because it was a major point. Like we both are essentially dropped off. Like we don't allow Strava at the Rev anyway, just for privacy and
I
security
don't have
reasons.
it.
I still use it a lot for running. I just put my rides on there just to track the mileage, essentially.
But are you not fading it out?
I'm going to fade it out. Yeah, April's my subscription's up, so
Yeah.
I'm not paying $90 for that shit.
It's 90. Is it $9 a month?
$80 a year.
Oh,
A
it's about
year.
a year. I was
Still.
like, oh my gosh.
A year. It started at like 19 a year. Okay, I can do that. 50 last year. I think it was 59 a year, and I'm like, all right, that's pushing it. They just keep raising the price. It's like Garmin does all of it for the same, and you can even do segments on there if you want. Whatever you want to do, it's on Garmin. Not a sponsor. Garmin.
His face.
He's
I'm
in
on
such
you right
agreement.
now. He's making a face.
This is his casting. Welcome to the
I
casting.
think that's
couch.
one of the. That's the face of someone who knows something. But we will go dig
Oh,
it.
like they have no. Specialized already tried to do that.
What?
They tried to have their own, like,
literally
Strava
ribbing him.
thing.
I'm ribbing him.
Oh,
No, I don't think there's anything in the works from a data acquisition standpoint.
He was agreeing with you.
Oh,
he looked
yeah,
so
yeah.
agreeable.
He
but
looked like he was like.
it was
I just didn't know it
enough
was that
of a visual.
expensive. I was more shocked that like everybody's
Yeah,
like.
dude.
Have you seen? So I was a YouTube TV subscriber. Do you see what they're asking now?
Yeah, they jacked it on me. I'm pissed.
I canceled that.
Oh,
Did you really?
I'll show you guys some stuff.
And
off
how am I
air
gonna
if
watch
you
my
wanna get a
wrestling?
VPN?
Just get cable. That's all. It's the big circle. We're just all gonna have cable.
I
subscriptions.
know, but I've done this stuff, man. You're 20 something ish, almost 30. Let's say
I'm gonna meet my wife on this podcast, so let's not talk age.
you're correct. He's younger than me and Dale.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest in the room.
What is it? Old enough.
Old enough. I'm just saying, like, for me, the thing that's crazy is that, like, I've been through this game before of cycles and doing all this stuff, and like it starts to suck after a while. Where
Yeah,
you
you just do what I do, and we can talk off air about what I do. But
He's committing crimes.
no, I'm not. Somebody is. I just use my VPN. I'm in Thailand when I watch TV, boys.
Oh.
Seriously, I can watch anything I want.
Well,
on the
I
planet.
feel like the VPN thing, like we're like this is good because we're getting off the like heavy stuff. Try to keep it light.
No.
No,
we're-
not that
we're
anything
just
we've talked about is
incriminating
particularly heavy.
myself on
He's gonna go to
recording.
No,
jail
we can
after this.
incriminate you. Maybe you're going to lose all your sponsors for the pod, but that's not my problem.
No, they're secure.
No, they're
They're
secured.
secured. But like everybody promotes like every podcast I listen to is like promoting a VPN.
Oh no, I'm not.
Oh, NordVPN.
Yeah,
Listen,
specifically.
here we are.
Listen,
Hi, I'm Drew with
this out.
NordVPN.
Yeah, bleep this out because they're right. Cut the check, right? Bleep VPN is on like everybody's podcast.
No, we're not going to say the other one either that you said earlier, but it is true.
What's it?
When we were going to get drinks.
You can say it.
No, because they are going to. We want them
Alpha,
to pay us. No,
Gamma, Warner?
no.
No.
I don't.
When I said I was getting a electrolyte drink,
Oh, yeah. We don't
we're
wanna
not saying that
we're not
because that
saying
potentially could be a sponsor.
They're not going to sponsor.
They're in our niche. They could.
anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
They're not going to sponsor because I say Roll Tide too much.
That's actually
Oh.
true. That
Yeah, I mean I can't help it, and I'm not going to ever.
Are you a big Bama fan? Oh, I mean, you say Roll
Well,
Tide.
I'm not a Florida
No,
fan.
down here, roll tide is like a term of I'm awkward and I'm done talking and I might have said something.
No,
I
it's
shouldn't
not.
have.
No, Roll
it's like-
Tide is what you can use Roll Tide for anything you want. Like,
Yes.
I would suggest you don't use it in Georgia because you might get murdered.
I wouldn't use it
I mean,
anyway.
Sports
listen,
murdered, folks. Sports murder, different
Yeah,
things.
sports
Like
murder.
sports hate is a real thing. Sports murder, different
Atlanta's
thing.
crime is so small, he won't have to worry about getting murdered in
That's
Atlanta.
not the kind of murder. I mean, sports murdered.
That's physical murder.
That's physical murder. Big difference.
sports
You-
murder.
Like so you have sports hate. You have. I know
Tons
you
of-
have sports hate.
Yeah, roll tide is a sports hate of
It
mine.
is not a
I
sports
feel
hate.
like I'm with you on that. I
You
feel
know
like
why they say roll tide?
No.
Because they can't spell elephant.
Oh.
You know what the number one party school in America is?
Ohio University.
Oh, you. My mom.
See,
I'm
we
gonna
both
dox
went
my mom.
straight
My
to
mom's a
OU.
bobcat.
That's what I'm saying. We know.
Yeah, I was gonna say OU.
Both terrible.
No, my mom for real. Like my mom's an Ohio University alum.
Hey, Playboy did the whole big stories
Oh,
about
let's
it.
change the topic. She's a great.
Isn't your mom in Playboy?
No, no,
Yes,
no, no.
this went so well. This
No,
is
it's
exactly
terrible.
what we're after.
If she was, I probably would have not been asking to go on dates from being on this podcast.
That's true.
the best part about it getting awkward is that it just gets so good. That's like when the meat. Well, all right. So what is the shift you see? Like, so you obviously have an eye into the industry that we don't have. You're seeing things, but at the same time, you may be on the forward side of that, but we're the ones, and not that you're not, but like we're living it with the delay of production or with the delay of product turnaround or with whatever. What do you see is like the future shifting? Because it seems like the industry, and I'm not asking you to speak beyond anything more than, it seems like the industry is going to go into a change. Like if you guys are doing trails, that's fantastic. And we see like, you know, how much more can we do to a bike to innovate?
You can stand on
change things.
derailleurs and bounce up and down and make marketing campaigns.
And make memes?
Make
and make
memes.
memes.
Dude, the meme, the one that's been floating around is, I know I've mentioned it, but it's like the bottom of that guy's shoe, and it's like
Right.
POV SRAM transmission. It's like, oh man,
so brutal.
But also, it brings up an interesting point. Like we were talking about when we were riding today. Like, how many times have you ever been like, yeah, I really would be doing better if I could just stand on my rear mag? Like,
Yeah, we talked about
kinda
it coming
never.
up.
But where do I mean, I think from a big picture standpoint, I think that there's tons of momentum in the sport and in the bike industry as a whole. But I think and this is an individual subjective opinion. I think what we're gonna realize is that things are gonna go back to normal because, like we said
Right.
earlier, like COVID just made the bike industry go crazy
Yep.
town. Like everybody was buying everything. Like you go to your local shop to get brake pads or a chain,
No,
and
there's
they're like,
nothing at the
good
LBSs.
luck, dude.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
see you in 6 months.
Right.
And so I think what is perhaps going to happen is you've got big companies that, due to the influx of demand, they fortified production rapidly. Like they were going and buying an auxiliary manufacturing facility because the demand was just there.
Right.
And when COVID, I don't think that. Oh, we can't say that, can we?
No,
You
no,
didn't
we're already
say it
good.
all.
C word. Oh,
No,
is this
no.
going to get shut down?
No,
No,
we
no,
don't.
no.
We just get the blue banner. We're fine.
Oh, okay, cool. But like when the pandemic passed,
He winked for those audio.
people. Should I wink to the camera? People realized
That was actually his dating
That was
wink.
dating.
that's why I did that. Yeah, you can snip that and put it in the front.
They're
and
holding
be
it.
like,
They're
"Look."
holding whether they're going to swipe left or right, and that's the one. Which way do you go? You're supposed to swipe right. I don't have those things. I cannot admit that I've ever even looked at one.
I don't know either. I think somebody's swiping some direction.
Okay, go ahead.
Leads to
Continue.
something. But point being, so I think that you're probably going to see a slight cut in MSRP in products because of a surplus of supply. Because you've gone from demand
Right.
with
right.
no supply, like extreme demand, unusual demand, to realistic demand, which I think is kind of where we're at right now. Like maybe not yet, but soon, and surplus of supply.
Yeah.
Right. So it's simple economics, right?
Yep.
So companies aren't going to want to sit, and I don't think is it's not happening with us, but you're going to have companies that are now taking on inventory that they have to move. So you're to the consumer, it's going to be a great time to buy your new, drivetrain or transmission, or whatever, right? Or new set of wheels or tires. Like I think you'll probably see cost or price come a little bit down, but maybe not much.
So to your point, the thing that is interesting to me is what might be exciting is if local communities and local bike groups and those areas can help push that forward, like what you're doing, what we do, what's important to us is, it's not like it's a weird cult where we're just trying to recruit more people in, but it is a lot more fun when there's more people out there. Like riding by
100%.
yourself is one thing. I get it. Like I'm good for that for health reasons, like exercise, right? But today we had 10, 12 dudes out there.
Solid sesh. A lot of fun.
Right? Awesome. Yesterday we had the same thing. Like Kieran shows up late. Even though he shows up late, who cares? Then we go have dinner. But like just having that group of people all together to do that kind of stuff makes a big difference. And then we have like Chris, one of our guys is now a bike shop guy. Shout out to them, Infinity, for helping us out.
Shout out to Infinity.
Yeah, there you go. Infinity Bikes, they're a Trek guy. But the point is like that little group of people, if they're there and they're like, hey, by the way, this bike's getting cheaper, then it's easier to bring somebody in.
Facts.
So I'm hoping what we see happen is instead of the pandemic surge where that's an artificial surge.
Correct.
It happened to my business. I can say this as a business owner. We had an artificial surge. Second biggest year on record for me was during the pandemic, right?
Really?
Because we picked up, video was the only way to communicate.
Oh,
so
yeah,
as a
'cause
company
people weren't face-to-face.
Right. So we're an agency that specializes in video. So now all of a sudden we're doing like all these healthcare videos. And obviously there's a lot of money in healthcare. During the pandemic, there's even more money. So we doubled our revenue, like dangerously. So I had to be like, this isn't realistic. Yeah, it is a flex. But then you're like, next year's numbers are nowhere going to be like.
Well,
but then you have to back off. But it's the same thing that like bike manufacturers are running into. So maybe that means, all right, cool. Let's get more people involved. Let's see if we can do it.
Yeah, I think that's the hope. Is it's like, okay, the folks that during the pandemic when everything, like, although inflation is nuts, but like if the three of us owned a bike shop, right, and we're just going to be objective here, or at least quasi objective, if the three of us owned a bike shop during pandemic or the pandemic, it has to like be trademarked, of course, when we realize that demand is nuts, we're gonna increase our prices, right? Because that's our livelihood. If we know people will pay it, maybe it makes sense to bump it, right? Shouts to bump.
There it is. Nice.
But I think what we hope happens is when the demand drops a little bit and maybe there's a surplus of product, the kid who, in 2020 or 2021 couldn't afford the, bike company X bike for $5,000, maybe at $2,500 they can. But it's crazy to say that because I almost still feel bad because $2,500 is a lot of money for a bicycle.
Ton of money.
It's a ton of money. To like
500 to a regular is a lot.
That's the problem that I sort of have with the industry as a whole. That in a perfect world,
it was getting abhorrent. Like some of the prices, it's like, what is $7,000?
But you piecemealed yours during the.
It was way more expensive than if I would have bought a full blown bike.
And I think I would go on record of saying the difference in everything. So the difference between a $500 bike and a $1,500 bike is huge.
Oh, massive.
The difference between a $1,500 bike and a $4,500 to $5,000 bike is still pretty big. Mm-hmm. The difference from a $5,000 bike to a $12,000 bike, not that big.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not.
I mean, we learned that like back when I was shopping for that Gorilla Gravity.
That I
happened
broke.
to tumble on. It's all right.
For the record, I broke the brake lever off.
I know,
and myself.
but it's more dramatic. Where's my sticker? There's my sticker that says "Admit it." That was dramatic, but like
it was on the handlebars.
That scenario was I bought that, and so it pierced him actually. That same handlebar. It was dramatic as it gut punched him. But that bike is, and I told Dale after I bought it, I was like, I'm happy with it, no complaints, but like, man, I overpaid a little bit. So then I was riding my Trek all weekend, which is the baseline EXE or whatever, their trail bike. And I bought the bottom end because I wanted to be able to go back and put the parts on it that I wanted to do. So I'm with you. Like, there's a weird balance. Now, it's interesting to me, like when people ask me what they should do, I'm like, look, buy the bike you can afford always. But that's a gimmick, because if you say that to somebody, what happens is, we talk about it all the time, my buddy's bloop, and then this guy has one, and then this girl has one,
it
and
becomes
and you start stacking it.
Thing swinging.
Well, that's why I always say
it's exactly right.
That's what
mountain
it is.
biking is super cheap until you have friends that mountain bike. Like if you
Yeah, shout out
only
to David
rode-
Martin.
Yeah, David. Sorry, he came and rode. Every time he rode, it's like, man, you should get a full suspension bike.
He was riding this old,
old Giant,
hardtailed, and then now all of a sudden he has that Marin, and he's happy as can be. But
Yeah, I mean, it's if it's good for you, but you hit the nail on the head. It's like I stand in any aspect of life, and this is not financial advice, but like buy what you can afford.
Right.
Don't like people that don't finance a bicycle. Like,
No.
are you nuts. Like, no offense to the bike shops that are making money on financed bikes, but like this is not a necessity. Like, you don't need to finance a bicycle. It's a luxury item.
Yeah, the only time I've ever told anybody to do anything like that was like they already had the cash. It's like if you have the cash physically set aside and you are truly trying to build credit. Like when I was a young
fair.
guy,
Yeah,
I was
fair.
trying to build credit, and I was a drummer in a band, right? And so I wanted to upgrade my drum kit, but I had the cash to pay for it. And my dad was smart enough to be like, "Hey, set the money aside, make your monthly payments because it's going to build your credit." And that's what I did, and it worked really well, right? But financing a bicycle that
Kind of wild.
you're out of it. And like next thing you know, because of the nature of the sport being so communal, unless you're just riding by yourself, next thing you know, someone's going to show up with Axis or some other garbage on there. And then you're like, oh man, I need that. Now you're another $500-$600 in, or you got a transmission, whatever, all these gimmicks that come out. And if people, I'm on a Trek EXE forum, and because it's a little obnoxious. I don't like being on it. And my issue with it is there's a dude that posted the 9.9, the top of the line, their most expensive one. He already has that shit on there.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like
He had
already.
it before it came out.
You're
Probably.
right. He's one of those guys. Like he literally already did it, and it's just like, really. I mean, you already
It's
have.
also
like,
still like it's that thing you said. You can get as much joy out of a shitty bike, and it's like I've been at plenty of trailheads with dudes that have the best new thing and can't ride it worth a.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, what are we wasting? That bike can do way more than you're ever going to be capable of doing. My bike can do more than I'm ever going to be capable of doing. But I'd like to be able to say that I'm pushing some limit of it.
Dude, I think most bikes, like everything
Yeah.
I ride, is I can't push them hard enough.
Right.
And like I'm decent,
Yeah.
decent to good, right? But like there's nothing I've ever looked at and been like, oh, the bikes was gonna hold me back.
Right. That's sometimes I think I get so frustrated. It's like, dude, it's almost when I played basketball. You show up and you got this kid that can't even shoot that's got the brand new Jordans on. Like, okay, next time save your money, go buy a coach and get better. Like,
Yeah, and that's
That
the
would be-
interesting thing is like if you had like,
shout out to Dirt Coaster Academy.
where you can get your coaching.
where you can get
Yeah.
all your coaching needs. I think that's the interesting predicament. I know we've run a bit long, but like if you had, and I think there's another pod that asks this, is like if you had $100 or $200 to spend on bike.
Yeah, we
whether
did.
we
it's
did a whole
like this.
episode about it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did? Like,
Yeah.
what would you spend it on? Like, what would y'all
We
do?
did 100, 300, 500, 1,000.
Oh.
Like we went through.
Yeah,
the
we
whole
went
All
through
game.
right, let's
stacked it.
do that. I
Yeah.
haven't actually run that.
Yeah,
So,
we ran it. We did it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but we'll go with it. What would
Yeah.
you do? So you got $100.
so we got what, 1, 3, 5, and $1,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, $100. Nutrition, I think.
Oh,
Just, like,
interesting. That's a
we
good
didn't hit
spin.
that.
standard nutrition.
Yeah.
I think is important. Like, and I'm thinking short term. Like, this is like a purchase
Yeah.
situation, not like budgeted over time.
Yeah, one-time spend.
Yeah, one time spend. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
That's a good
That's one. a great answer.
nutrition
That's
for
fun.
sure, because you can get a lot out of $100 worth of like good, clean food.
Which you can
And-
get at Run and Try.
And you run and try.
Just kidding.
And you can
I'm not derailing us. Let's keep going.
Which
But you can ruin your ride without the right nutrition.
You can,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's
true.
like as we ate like 3 pounds of crawfish before we did this, but
Well, while we were riding yesterday, we ate hot dogs, and today
And then
Kaneka.
today,
But
Joey
it's-
Pants had Kaneka
But it's
sausage.
still
That's
calories
nutrition.
when you need calories.
right, yeah. It burns, but I do think that $100
Coming out, it burns.
$100
Nutrition.
some, like a couple weeks worth of good food, like eat clean.
There
Like
you
I'm
go.
not gonna say you have to abide by a dietary restriction or whatever
Yeah.
you want to do. Like one of my best friends and coworkers is vegan, and her life, I'm just like, you have to think about so many things, but she's a monster. Like she's
Right.
living the dream and doing it right.
Yep.
So yeah, $100 nutrition, $300 tires,
That's what
what
we
you
said.
said.
That's what I said. I
which
said
is
tires.
crazy to say.
Yeah. I'm with you.
$300 like might get it. Yeah, it'll get you a set of good tires.
Yeah.
I think you can you can change the dynamic of your bicycle by a good set of tires more than anything else.
So my question to you then is matched or unmatched? Like, are you one of those guys that they have to? If you notice, I ride unmatched. I had a Continental up front, and I have the a Maxxis in the back, just because I like the way when I experimented with my tires on my little budget. That's what I found rode best for me.
I am a square guy. I run a match setup, DHR front and back.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, it's an odd choice.
Yeah.
Get a lot of heat about it, but I'd like not to maybe Maxxis tires could become a pod sponsor.
That'd be great.
We take it all day.
Shouts Maxxis. I think that the DHF has that weird dead zone when you lean it in, where the tread kind of doesn't
Same
connect.
as Jakey Poo says, same stuff.
Yeah, and I think that it's Greg's tire. Is it the Assegai or the Aggressor? The Aggressor's Troy's tire.
Yep.
The Assegai is a good front, but I like the predictability of DHR on everything, whether you're going bananas fast or just doing jibs. So it's a little bit of a backwards thing, but I do prefer a matched tire setup.
Now, do you also feel like they have to be lined up perfectly on the
Yeah, they got to be on the valve stem.
They got to be on the valves.
You guys are just
the hot
you're
patch.
pieces of shit,
If your
man.
hot patch isn't on the valves,
You guys, that is no one's gonna see it going that fast.
I am.
You judgmental
Instagram's
sons of
gonna see
bitches.
it.
That's what
I
you
know.
are. You're a bunch of
That's
judgy.
how we know who the
I mean,
sons
it's
of
not
bitches.
judgy. It's just
You're judging.
what? So you want to spend $3,000 on a Mac and you're not willing to line your tires up with the valve stem?
I didn't buy that Mac. Don't trash me.
I'm not saying. Oh, you have one? Let's hear.
I don't use Mac anymore.
Oh no, mech.
Oh.
Like a rear mech.
God, I thought you said Mac.
No,
I was
Oh,
like,
I thought you bought a transmission.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about. I was like, you have one of these things in
No,
here?
no.
Yeah, I
We're
do.
giving it away on the next podcast. If you guys listen, we're going to give away.
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
Schramm
give away-
transmission.
Oh,
Don't say the brand
You guys
name.
are gonna get so
Oh.
sponsored.
you should have just said we're going to give away a transmission.
Oh, it's
'cause
just
that's
gonna be a
it. Yeah,
transmission.
yeah,
that's
because
the
I
only
mean, I can
one.
go buy us one of those busted pieces of shit from the scrapyard and be like, here it is.
So you're gonna give you're like,
trans-
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we got the new transmission, and it's out of a 1980
Yeah,
Dodge
and then we're going to
Dart.
send lesson learned, you little shit. Next time, listen
It
to
could
our
be a
words.
SRAM.
Yeah, maybe you
I
should
know a
tune
guy that
in.
can make some stickers, make it SRAM if we want it to be.
Yeah, that's
SRAM.
right. It's going to be spelled SCHRAM. Shram.
Schmear.
SCH.
Schmear, yeah.
All right, so 500.
500 bucks. Then you start getting into options because it's you could reasonably get a really good wheel set for 500 bucks.
That's what Dale's. That was Dale's.
I run the Factor wheels
Yep.
out of Georgia. They're great. Ben Hobbs is running that company. Awesome wheels. Through the right, no, actually not even through the right connections, maybe a better shock. I mean, you can realistically get a capable, the Float X is incredible. Not to gas ourselves up, but that shock is crazy. It's really capable. It's, I think, a progression of DPX2.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome shock, and you can probably get that for around 500 bucks. But I will say a good set of wheels. If you bought a complete bike, I think the next thing to get goofy is wheels, because you're going to start blowing spokes up. You're going to have to true it all the time, and I think 500 bucks a set of wheels.
Your cam died.
So we're dead on cam. So we'll just jump to
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
So I'm just going to be on the camera.
No, it's just me and you now.
$1,000. Couple ways you could go with that, because you could go.
You can get a Mac.
You could get
Start.
You
Get
could
1/3.
You could get 1/3 of a bleep transmission. You could go cockpit and wheels. You could go fork. Although you might be pushing $1,000 for a really posh fork. If you're willing to go secondhand, you can get a factory level fork for $800, $900.
Yeah.
CPO or used. But I would say $1,000 a coaching session, a lot of coaching.
That's pretty good.
I feel like a good coach. I don't know how much good coaches are running these days, but
Yeah, I mean, if you already have the bike and then you have $1,000,
yeah, good
know what I'm
point. Because
saying?
it's it depends where you stand.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
If you
'cause
have
if you
a
have
capable
good-
rig,
yes,
and an
and
extra
you have
grand,
an extra grand, then getting the
Yeah.
having the capability for somebody
also,
to teach you.
I want to backtrack on the $500 brakes. Better
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
better brakes.
Better
is
brakes.
Interesting.
Because a lot of completes are spec'd with brakes that they shouldn't be spec'd with.
Oh, that's a fair point.
And you can get the best, maybe you can
definitely
get
get
really good
yeah.
brakes for $500 or less.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be those would be my answers.
Yeah,
The only problem I have with any of those things is when we have to get into like there's all the adapters and shit that you run into. Like that's the stuff that's sometimes like overlooked. There's like the little bitty pieces that stack up after a while.
Yeah, like the $5 part where you're like, my whole system's good until I find this $5 little widget.
That's exactly it.
I
That's-
loved,
I'm dealing
I
with that
loved
with my
building my
TRPs.
bike just because I had to learn about every single part. Like I had to figure out what bottom bracket works, what headset works, what pieces I need to make the 200 millimeter rotors work. Like every single part. That was the fun part for me. Now that it's all built, I'm like, what do I got to look forward to? I just make my wife a mermaid bike.
I'm going
Cool
to
bike,
actually
though.
just put a shot of you. I'm still cutting to black, but I'm just going to drop in some kind of random B-roll.
A
since the
turn
camera
down?
died.
Can we have a turn down?
Yeah, it'll just be real slow and shitty.
You're the first person that didn't ask what a turn down was, which is is fair.
Like the trick.
Well, it's something I just is like a nervous tick when I jump. I do the similar thing.
So we're not that like I can't jump straight.
No, right? I can't. Either.
I can't like I've seen people do it and I'm like, how are you not like I'd like a big whip. Like
Yeah.
I'll do like a Euro or table, like dangle a foot off on a table. But like if you were like to hit this big jump and don't do just ride it straight, I can't.
No, that's what. So I've done that every time. It's kind of morphed into different things now. I can do a couple different variations, but so that's why we say I'm the king of the South Alabama turn down.
Oh,
Because no one knows what the South Alabama turn down is, and well, neither do I technically.
wow.
It is what
That's
it
how it
is.
works.
I know now.
You know, you saw me. I jumped over a person today. And
You
did.
did.
I did it over.
Jumped
top
over
of a
a-
person.
Let's insert that footage.
Yeah.
Da-da.
Boom. Clip it in.
Maybe I'll
Maybe
remember.
not.
Before we close everything out, because it is 4:11. I don't know what time your flight is. It's somewhere around here.
5:45.
Okay, so you're good. But that way we can chat things out or have another brewski or whatever we got to do. But how do people go and find out to like if they're interested? If there's a
Yeah.
local organization for the Trail Trust stuff, where they go?
100%. Yeah. So Trail Trust is pretty much actually pretty recently. Shouts to the Trail Trust team: Isabel, Amanda, Kat, Ashley, Jackie Martin. You can find us on all major forms of social media. So we've got an Instagram page.
Sweet.
We've got, I think, Facebook. You can find us directly through ridefox.com. And I think as social media and culture as a whole progresses, like we're right alongside it. But right now, you can like from the Instagram side at Fox, at Trail Trust. We have a specific careers page, which is at Fox F Careers. You can put the little thing down there. But yeah, pretty much all forms of major social media we're there, and give us a
And then
follow.
I think trailtrust.com you guys don't know, by the way.
Yep, we have our own site as well. I think there's a link from ridefox.com. But yeah, there's a specific site for Trail Trust that outlines, the initiatives that we've put together, or the founding group of Trail Trust have put through. So yeah, pretty much anywhere you'll find our name, you'll find Trail Trust.
All right, fantastic.
And I have some gifts.
Oh,
Frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah, I brought a 50-50. Y'all got to choose. Fox hat, Trail Trust hat. Got a bunch of stickers, patches.
sweet.
Awesome.
So a gift from us to you.
Oh, thank you.
Drop them on the floor.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, thanks for having me. It was
No,
an
we appreciate it. We
exciting
appreciate being on.
experience.
Do you want to? Is there any reason for people to follow you on social media? Because I heard you're a
Potential-
big Be Real guy.
What's Be Real?
Oh, wait. No.
I actually don't. I mean, I've seen it. It's the thing where like your front and back camera come on.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
I
just
wouldn't
kidding. He doesn't
dox.
He doesn't.
But I
be-
mean, since this is
For your wife.
potentially at Andy Ridilla, just
There you go.
in the bio. Boom.
On the
Yeah, got a
on the
strong-
Instas. Are you
Yeah,
on Instagram?
I'm not really a big like I like Instagram. I don't really care for anything else. Just because cool pictures, cool videos. That's about it. So yeah, feel free to throw a follow my way. You're not going to see me on TikTok or any of the stuff I've generationally passed on, but
We had one of our oldest members sit down while Andy was here, and he's
Oh.
like, "Dude, I'm on the TikToks now. I love it."
yeah. After we all
he's the
just said we're
man.
not.
he was like adamant that he's like, I'm everywhere on TikTok, and I was like, he's like, how are you not? I was like, I don't know.
That's the human shock whiz.
He is a human. His bike is dialed. Shouts to him though. That bike's
Yeah,
fun.
He's a human
Rode
shock
the
whiz.
e-bike today.
It's all good. You
I
broke
know, but it was
mine. It's
fun.
fine.
It was
It's
quick.
fine. I just
I
have
broke
to buy a
your,
new one.
we'll throw that one in there. So I broke your brake lever.
No, you got to say the whole
formally.
bike so I can buy a new
Oh,
one.
sorry. I exploded your bicycle.
Thank you.
And myself.
You did. You did kind of take a
Y'all
tumble.
have this like left hip that I was like, yeah, it's easy. And whatever you're I'm sure it works for you, but your fork to your shock, the way they're set up is just you're pressed in and then you're bucked out. So you're just trying to do a front flip. But yeah,
That's what I do.
got
I mean, normally
smoked.
you didn't get to see me ride it, so I just.
That's
do it
actually a
like-
tricky hip though. Like there's only a couple of us that actually.
Well, I
don't
rode
even
it
think
today
of it.
unintentionally and was like, oh, it's fun, but it still kind of scared me. But to the community thing, we pulled up this morning. You got a brake lever ready to go.
Oh yeah, we
Oh,
don't
they
mess
put a
around.
whole
The
brake
whole
on.
fam was just in there
Yeah,
with a fresh
yeah.
brake lever. I think a whole brake, right?
Yeah. It was a whole brake. They just put a whole brake
See,
on.
that's what we're talking about.
That's
That's
exactly how
the
it works.
community we're trying to build. Is like, yeah, somebody broke your brake lever off. Boom,
Well, I tell you what
replacement
would
done
I
from
tell you
the
what would be
homies.
of great benefit if you guys would just ship us a box of shocks and
And then we go
forks.
Oprah style. You get a fork. You get a fork. You
break
get a
'em.
fork.
Then whenever we break them, when something goes wrong and someone I'm just kidding.
No, see what I mean. It's very hard even for us to get product.
Oh
but
no, it's a joke. It's literally we wouldn't know
Maybe.
what to do with it. We really wouldn't. Other than I would love to be that guy that just goes up to like kids who don't have like they're still not knocking Suntour, but they're riding that Suntour and just slap
No,
on a
there was
36
that-
and be like, "Go for it, bro."
There was
Go.
that dude that was riding with us every once in a while. That younger kid that we shamed into getting a bike. Then he hasn't been riding with us.
Ben.
For a while. Ben.
Yeah, 420 Ben.
Yeah.
what?
Well, I
Come 420 Ben.
Well, yeah,
Dude, he self-proclaimed himself to
Yeah.
be this like big 420 dude.
Yeah. Well, we had one time I brought paper plates for number plates, and I was like, everybody can pick their own number, write it down with a Sharpie on there, and he put 420 down, and I was like,
It was
wait.
a race. It was a race.
I was like, wait,
Paper
Ben.
plates were for the race. It wasn't some weird thing we did.
Oh no, I just thought, why is Ben not riding his bike anymore?
I don't know what Ben's doing, but
Ben, what are you doing?
Ben works for Hostel.
Yeah, we helped him out.
Ben's
like,
an engineer.
He came
Oh.
for a bunch of weeks, and then he just didn't. So
Wow.
I don't think he's injured.
no, he's not. I saw him at the car show yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
He came up and was like, "Hey, Dale, what's up?" And I was like, "Hey, Ben, where you been, man? Ben."
Ben. All right. Well, with that said,
Yeah,
this is going to be awkward. Just remember, I'm going to close. Oh, you want me to do that? Okay. As we tend to do on the show, just remember what Andy says.
What did you say?
What does the fuck say?
Oh, like the song?
Even better.